this is a question from Inquisitive Mind. It's connected, I think, to your book, but also kind of connected to the project. Who hamzad the Quran or the Quran if Muhammad and his companions were from the Hijaz, and when was it back projected to Muhammad?
Right. Yeah, so there's a bunch of details in this very detailed question, but it's a nice one, actually. So what is the hamzah? The hamzah is what linguists call a glottal stop, or as we like to joke, a glottal stop, right? This sound, which is a very British way of saying glottal. And so this sound is in all of the canonical reading traditions. It's there to a lesser extent and a larger extent in multiple places. So if we take the common reading traditions today, a believer in the reading of Hafs would be mu'min, and a believer in the reading of Warsh would be mu'min, without the hams. So there's places where there's differences, but all of them have hams to some extent. But if we go to the grammarians and go to the reports about the people of the Hijaz, time and time again, they tell us the people of the Hijaz did not have hamzah in their speech. So now the question is...
So Hijaz, I should have said this at first, but Hijaz is the region where the Quran was proclaimed by the Prophet, Mecca, Medina. So,
And so in this region, they're not supposed to have hamzah. And I would say if you look at the Quranic consonantal text and the rhyme, it seems to be true that there's no hamzah there. At least wherever you could see it, it rhymes as if it's not there, which is not so many places, but it's like 10 places in the Quran. So that's an indication that there is no hamzah. So, but now all the canonical readers have it. So who put it in there? It's a really interesting question, and it says something about standard language ideology and what people consider proper language. And indeed, if you learn modern Standard Arabic today, one of the notable differences between Standard Arabic today and the modern vernaculars is that you have to put the hamzah in the right places. So who put the hamzah in? The earliest manuscripts don't have a way of writing the hamzah. There's no sign for it or anything. So everything points to there not being a hamzah. And so there's an interesting, there's a bit of a historical memory, it seems, in the literary record of this. So in Ibn Mujahid's book, he mentions that the first person to put a hamzah into the recitation... Oh, I'm getting a message that I need to plug in the power, but I still have a little bit of power, so we'll try and go as long as we can.
Because everyone, Ryan is working on a laptop with batteries, has no power, and thanks for.
There's no power here, so this is why it's getting gradually darker here as well. They say the first person to put the hamzah in the Quran in Medina is this guy called Muslim bin Jundab, who dies, I think, 110. I don't have the exact, so that's 700 something.
Second half of the 8th century, maybe.
We don't know a lot about this guy's reading, but apparently he was the first one to do it. And we have a couple of other reports. So interestingly, Abu Ja'far, one of the canonical readers of Medina today, in the reading we have has very few hamzahs, but it still has some hamzahs. But there are different transmission paths that are no longer considered canonical, which don't have any hamzah at all. So there seems to be a bit of a historical memory of there being no hamzah, at least in Medina, in the way the Quran was recited, which is in line with actually how the Quran was written and composed. So who put it in? Well, apparently Muslim bin Jundab was the first one to start putting it in. And that clearly took off and really became popular. And very early on, it seems that putting hamzah in your speech was something of a higher register. For some reason, I mean, why do we think putting that consonant in is higher register? I don't know, but that's something that was kind of felt to be around, and many people kind of jump onto that. And that's true even today, right? You cannot speak Fusha, that is Standard Arabic, without hamzah. That needs to be in there, and otherwise you're not really speaking Fusha. So that became stronger and stronger until most of the canonical readers just have hamzah all over the place. But still, even among the canonical ones, so as late as, and they live in late 2nd century, most of them, some of them are still not completely consistent with the hamzah in all places. So it really takes a couple of centuries for that idea that, no, if you're speaking proper Arabic, you should not drop the hamzah. You should always keep it. That has kind of been developing over time. So who hamzad the Quran? Apparently Muslim bin Jundab. We don't have a lot of evidence about that, but it's a report that exists, and there's something going on there for sure, and we can see that happening in the literary record.